Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Hello, you're listening to the podcast, so there I was. It's how all great aviation tales begin. This is episode 116, Wings of My Father. Great story.
That, Messman, our guest was Messman, and I wasn't sure what to expect, and holy cow.
Right?
He knocked me off my chair more than once, and you talk about, I felt like I was talking to one of our former gunnies. I was gut laughing and felt like I'd done 100 crunches several times.
Absolutely. This gent is either in his late 70s or early 80s, was in the Navy as a P3 naval flight officer in 1960.
TACO. He said he was a TACO, tactical officer.
Yeah, in 1966. So a little rough language in here. We are listed as explicit. So
this is an explicit podcast, and he took that to the limit.
There you go. And he did. And to be fair, he wasn't throwing slurs at anyone else. He was talking about the slurs that people were throwing at him. So
he was telling it like it was for him, man. Back in the
60s. Yeah. So, hey, real quickly, sponsors this week are two. We've got FTIratings.com, who've been with us for a while now. Thrilled to have you. Thank you very much. Mention you heard it here on So There I Was, and you get $100 off. And more importantly, if you're a veteran, what happens for you, Fig?
You can use your VA benefits to get your type rating with FTI ratings.
Yep. Or your ATP or any of that stuff. And we're also pleased to welcome back Hello
Fresh.
Yeah.
I love that because it makes it too easy, man.
I know, right? We'll talk about that a little bit more during the show as well. But thank you to both those sponsors who help bring great guests like this to you. He opened up with his story about Wings of My Father, which is actually made into, it's a different musical opening. You're not going to hear music when we end here. You're going to hear the trailer for his movie and his book, Wings of My Father. Oh, my God. He's lucky to be alive.
He is. And when he tells the story, my palms were sweating. And we can't run it. There's too much to it. But let's just say he cheated death over and over.
Yes.
On one flight.
Yeah. Spoiler alert is he is with us.
Yeah, he is with us. So it's all ended good, but it shouldn't have. On more than one occasion on the same flight, everything was stacked against him. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Murphy was in the cockpit that night.
Absolutely.
Along with Charlie.
Yeah. Who almost passed out.
who he said was going to have a heart attack. Charlie was his passenger.
Yeah. Oh, my God. And then the Boston Center controller told him, don't go anywhere. Where am I going to go?
Don't you move. Don't move. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, man.
Yeah. What a great, and you know what?
Go.
I was going to say, he talks so fast, and he's got a heavy Bostonian accent. And it several times I had to ask him what he just said.
Right. You may want to listen to this on 90% speed. Slow it down just a little bit in your podcast player. But I was going to say, seasoned aviator.
Oh my gosh,
37,000 plus hours, more time than you and me put together, Fig, and that's
combined.
Saying something.
Yeah, that's saying something. Yeah, because we're no slouches, really. No. I mean, we're slouches, but we've been flying our asses off for the last 30 plus years.
Exactly,
but not like that.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the amount of time he had in a P3 is knee buckling when you consider.
Most guys don't get a career as a P3 pilot in the Navy. Do 30 years, don't get that kind of time in a P3.
No, but this
was Vietnam. He lived in that.
It was Vietnam, and they were flying. They were literally flying their asses off.
Yep. So a lot of other great stories: fuel starvation event, fuel contamination, shutting down engines, engine failures. Oh dear God!
Feathering props, shutting down engines.
Yeah.
No radio, no radar, no lights. I mean, just it could get, I don't want to talk about it anymore because it makes me. I mean, I'm scared to fly now.
No do I. Nor do
And I'm
I.
fearless.
Here comes the mess man. He's coming at you. You're going to be
Enjoy it.
afraid. Be very afraid.
And enjoy because it's fun.
In a world before advanced technology, where communication and navigation were a pilot's lifeline, one man would face an extraordinary challenge. Based on a true story, Wings of My Father takes you on a heart-stopping flight where the odds were stacked against one man and his aircraft. On a fateful night, he found himself in the midst of a complete electrical failure, stranded in a storm, with no navigation or communication. Blind and deaf, he fought against nature's fury, pushing the limits of his own courage and skill. This is an in-depth tale, told from the perspective of the pilot, the FAA controllers, the Coast Guard ASR chopper, and an Air Force cargo C-30 aircraft. Experience the desperate attempts to save lives, the heart-pounding danger, and the unwavering resilience of the pilot against insurmountable odds. An airborne perfect storm meets fate is the hunter in this gripping adventure drama. Witness the author's own journey as he relives this life-or-death experience while piloting a Boeing 767 on a flight from New York City to London. Andrew Angelo, an aviation expert with over 37,000 flight hours, brings unparalleled authenticity to this thrilling story. From combat tours in Vietnam to corporate piloting and international airline captaincy, Angelo's life has been a testament to resilience and determination. Now, his riveting tale is ready to soar onto the silver screen, captivating audiences of all ages and genders with its high-stakes drama. Industry professionals hail Wings of My Father as a cinematic masterpiece in the making, with its suspense, courage, and ultimate triumph. Prepare to be on the edge of your seat as Andrew Angelo's Wings of My Father takes flight, reminding us all to never give up, no matter what the odds.
Wow.
Hey,
That is a little different intro, but this is So There I Was. I'm Fig. I'm coming to you tonight from Denver, Colorado. Where is my co-host?
I'm coming to you from New Hampshire tonight. I am pleased to bring our guest, Andrew Angelo, a.k.a. Messman, former Navy P-3 crewman, Vietnam era captain, and as the intro said, with more than 37,000 hours of flight time. Fig, I think that's more than you and me put together, and maybe even Sticks, too. Holy
That's
smokes. That is insane.
I can't wait for this.
No. So, welcome, Messman. We're super glad to have you.
well, I'm glad to be here. That was a great. That video was done by a production company out in Hollywood. That this story and the film is being promoted. We're trying to get this produced right now.
Nice.
So that's why that trailer was made.
Nice. Okay. So, and that's from your book, Wings of My Father.
Right.
Available Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all places where you get good books.
It's available everywhere. Yeah,
very cool. So look forward to reading that. And I'm going to want to hear more about that book in just a little bit. But I'm curious how it is that you became interested in airplanes and found yourself in the Navy and flying as crew on P-3s and then where you went from there. Sounds like fun.
Okay, well, well, I got to tell you, the first airplane I ever flew was actually an old barber's chair. This is in my other book. Basically, I was always interested. I was fascinated with airplanes, and that's the Wings of My Father is refers to something I did with my father. But I was always making him believe that I was flying airplanes and stuff like that. And I was in college. I was actually a pre-med major, and I was fooling around with flying, and I always wanted it. But remember, my parents were from Europe. They didn't, what are you, a pilot? What you can? There was no pilot, so I had to kind of fight that a little bit.
Okay.
But then my father got sick. Vietnam War was starting, so I decided to just go in the military. And I had applied. I couldn't get in the Air Force flying because I didn't have my degree at the time. So it's funny how I was just driving down, and I saw a DI come out of this recruiter. So I just stopped. I said, "Hey, what do you need to get into naval aviation?" And he told me. Next thing I know, I'm driving down to South Weymouth the next day, not prepared or anything. But I take the test, and the guy says, "Well, we have some openings for this they called it NAO at the time. I didn't know what it was. I said, okay, I'll sign up. Whatever. I want to go into aviation. So that's how I ended up in that program.
Okay.
But once I got in there and I went down through pre-flight, I said, I think I'm going to stay in this because there was a lot less of a commitment. It was 3.5 years after I got my wings, but you get your wings in about a year, whereas the other one was like 6.5. I was only a kid. I was only 20. So let me stay in this program. And I was always the top of my class and everything I was on. So I was a good student. I got my first choice. VP 46 were the first ones out on the West Coast to get the P3. I got that right off the bat. And I went through PPN navigation school down in Texas. And then I went through North Island, anti-submarine warfare and all that stuff. Ended up in the RAG out of Moffett. And then eventually I became a tactical coordinator.
Messman, what year? What year are we talking?
1964, I joined the Navy. I joined the sport in May of 1964. I got my wings in May of 1965. I went through the RAG, and then I joined the squadron while I was overseas in November 15th, 1965. And in this book, Wings of My Father, that actually happened on the anniversary date, November 15, 1971. It was the exact same day. So
wow.
I get over there, and I started. I joined the squadron overseas, and they were always flying patrols out of the Philippines into Thailand and Vietnam. So I was thrown right into the mix right away, and it was an experience working with them. I kind of really enjoyed it because I like working with the anti-submarine warfare. I really kind of liked being a tackle. It was kind of exciting because it's a lot of mental stuff. But I also was already a pilot. So I used to sneak in the cockpit all the time, and a lot of the guys would put me in the right seat. So I was actually logging some flight time while I was a naval flight officer, which was good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was good. They would actually let me even. I had a guy he ended up becoming an admiral. I won't give his name. Real nice guy. He really liked me because we were alpha crew, and he would take me along when he would give check rides, and he would stick me in the left seat. They'd be flying, chopping engine. Here I am. I said, what are you guys doing? Trying to kill us all? So it was really a good experience. Most of the guys that I worked with in the squadron were real good guys. I ended up flying with a lot of them at United. When I joined United, I must have run into like 10 of them from VP 46. It was like a reunion when I went to the training center there.
Oh, be darned.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so I mean,
nice.
My last tour at VP 46 was up in Adak, Alaska, which I really enjoyed because of the scenery, the different type of flying. And we got accommodations and recommendations. We ended up finding 3 Russian nukes coming underneath the ice cap, and we got all sorts of things on it. But ironically, we got a commendation and a reprimand at the same time.
How's that work?
How's that? Yeah.
While we were going around, my crew, we were all snakes. We were snaking all the nurses on Adak, Alaska. so we're all talking about the story. That's what it was really raunchy.
That's what he meant by the scenery being good up there.
It was raunchy. I mean, it was raunchy. The filthiest things you could have. So meanwhile, we're talking. It's being recorded. All this stuff is being recorded. So we didn't think we were going to find anything. Well, we find all these subs. We go back and we have to give everything to ASCAP, right? So they take all our things and maybe about 2 months later, the old man gets up and he's got the right accommodation for crew 4, Lieutenant Angelo, and all. And by the way, he said, I want to play a recording. So he puts the recording on the table and he starts playing the recording. Of course, me, my voice is very distinctive. So all you could hear was my big Bostonian accent voice, and it was really bad. So he clicks it up because everybody's just ragging the hell out of us. He said, congratulations, I've never had a commendation and a referral at the same time. He says to me, you get the filthiest mouth I've ever heard. So I said to him, what the fuck are you talking about? Hey, I'm from Boston. I said, that's SOP from Boston.
That's right.
That's how we greet each other in the morning.
Yeah.
How the fuck you doing?
That's right. That was
nice.
Yeah. And from there, when I got out of the service, I'd already had so I had my licenses. I was working. I was helping my father with his construction business, and I was a flight instructor. And that's how I got the job with this people where I had this incident in '71. They were a construction company, and I started flying with them. They hired me, and then they made me chief pilot. It got expanded. I hired a bunch of guys. I had my own office. It was out of Acton, Mass, and I was flying out of Hanscom Field in Bedford, Mass. And that's how I became a corporate pilot. And
Okay.
What kind of equipment was
Oh,
that?
that was just an Aztec, a PA-23, but it was really a nice little ship. It was loaded, the icing equipment. It had all the autopilot, everything in a flight. It was really a good little airplane. But we were buying an Aero Commander, and
Okay.
I was supposed to go out, I think February, go out to Bethany and pick up the new Aero Commander. They were going to come back and fly that and maybe have both of them at the same time. The flight department was expanding, and I was hiring a bunch of guys to, help me. And that's when the incident happened. I had been having trouble with that airplane. The airplane had an air charge or a nitrogen charge in the prop to help control the pitch. And I had a couple of runaway props, and they couldn't figure out why it was bleeding out of the bladder. And it's in the book where I talked to the mechanic and said, no, it's all set, it's all fixed. So I said, okay. So the whole thing about this story, the general theme, is nobody was supposed to be flying that day. I was not supposed to be flying with my day off. The air traffic control guy was not supposed to be flying. The helicopter guy was covering for somebody, and the guys in the C-130, they were coming back a month early. So none of us were supposed to be in the air that night, yet we all were there and met at that time. So that's kind of an underlying theme. And
right.
Yeah, it was just kind of a freaky thing, but that's the way it really worked out. Because I talked to after the incident, I talked to the helicopter pilot and I talked to the C-130 PPC. So we fly down to New Jersey. I'm with the vice president of finance named Charlie, real nice guy, about 55, a heavy smoker, real nice guy. And we go down there. We're supposed to be bidding on a piece of land, and the weather was terrible. By the time we got back to Teterboro, it was pouring out. They had wind shear and everything. But I said, okay, with that Part 91, you can do anything you want. So I go blasting off. I get about maybe 500 feet in the air, and my right engine prop runs away. So I didn't shut it off because I wanted to keep that power, my hydraulic. So if I bring back the throttle just about idle, the prop will stay within range, like 2,500 RPM. So I call up and I told the guys in Teterboro, hey, look, I have to come back in, swing me around, vector me around back to the ILS. So I leveled off at 3,000 feet, but I started picking up some ice. So the airplane was loaded with prop de-icers, wing boots, and I even had a windshield de-icer in it. So I threw everything on, and as I'm coming around, as they're vectoring me around, all of a sudden we got a fire under the bus bar. So for some reason we overloaded the system. The circuit breaker never popped like it should have. So now we put the fire out. So now I declare an emergency. But by the time we got back, because I had everything on, we lost everything. So I'm in the clouds at 3,000 feet, New York City. I said, go back a little bit. So I asked the guy, I said, where's the nearest VFR weather? And the guy said, there isn't any in the whole Northeast. And a Mohawk airline pilot, and he was actually instrumental in me deciding what to do. He had just taken off from Manchester, and he pipes in and said, you might want to tell that little guy. I took off out of Manchester, and the ceiling's about 500 feet there. He may be able to get under at Manchester. So that was the decision I made to go up in that area. So that Mohawk guy really kind of convinced me to go. So I talked to the guy, so what I did, was an old navigator. I plotted out the course. We did dead reckoning. I did the time. I was only doing about 140 because I only had full power on one engine. The other one was pulled way back. And we started. The main thing was I was starting to pick up ice here and there, so I'm trying to fly in between the cloud layers. And at the same time, the air traffic control, because I'm not squawking anything, they only have me on raw data. They called the SAR, and they called the C-130 that was coming from London. His name was Pacer 02. He gets vectored in to try to help to vector the helicopter out of Cape Cod so I could spot them and I could follow them down through the clouds. That was the plan. Well,
Okay.
As I'm,
That was the plan.
that was the plan. I was
Some
going to
plan.
follow a helicopter down through
Yeah,
the
with the
clouds.
cloud. That's what they came. Well, they couldn't talk to me, and I had no running lights. So
good Lord.
they were that was it. So of course, if we didn't both see each other, this was not going to work.
Right?
So
Yeah.
First of all, I got to say, I think this is a really horrible idea, but I can't wait to hear how this comes out. So please proceed.
okay, so I'm going up, and I'm having trouble maintaining my heading, which was about 0.55, because when he said Manchester, I said I'm going to go up the area because I flew out of Hanscom, so I was very familiar with that area. So I said I'm going to go west of Manchester, around there where there's not too much, in Nashville Airport, which is to the west. So as I'm flying around, I'm beckoning back. I said, Jesus. I said, I'm too much to the west because I could feel it. I had an instinct. This is too much to the west. So I said, I'm going to let down to 3,500 feet to see if I can see anything. Because I knew nothing was really high. As I'm letting down, I started feeling some turbulence. It felt like a wind going over hills. So I said, son of a bitch. I said, I must be over by the mountain, by Keene. So I poured the coals to it, and I started climbing up. And as I'm climbing up, this DC-9 is coming up through the clouds. He had taken off out of Keene. I won't go into the background how I know all this. He's coming up. He was so close that I could see the captain looking out of the cockpit, looking for us. And I hit him with the light, and we could see the fucking light in the cockpit. Well, I'm banked over to the right like this. He comes up and he turns. Well, I got caught in his turbulence. Over I go. Whoa! So I'm trying to roll over because now I have half my instruments. I come up and all of a sudden the airplane starts vibrating like crazy. So this is my Charlie, the guy, he starts screaming, "He hit us! He hit us! He hit us!" And what had happened as we rolled over, as the speed picked up, the prop on the right side freed itself, and the vibration.
The one that was stuck, the one that went high pitch.
So what happened was the prop was almost in feathers, so the boom. So that was a godsend. That was just a freaky thing that's actually saved our ass. So I put the thing back up, and I climb up. I said, "Jesus Christ!" I said, "That's great. Now we got both engines, right?" So as we're going up and everything else, he said, "So my guys are having a heart attack." As we come up through the
I'm having one.
Right down having
this
one.
all happened so quickly, it was unbelievable. As we come up through the clouds, what do you think happens? I almost run into the back of the goddamn Sikorsky. I come up and I roll the other way. The son of a bitch. So all I could see was light. So now we roll back the other way. So now my guy's having a heart attack. But what I tell you though, having him in the airplane was probably the best thing because I was concerned about him. So it kept me a little bit, a little bit under wraps.
Sure.
Kept me calmer.
Yeah.
I didn't want this guy to die. Because I thought he was going to have a heart attack because he was heavy smoker. So we get that all squared away. So I tell Charlie, I said, "Charlie, I know where we are." He said, "What do you mean? How do you know?" I said, "That was Keene Airport." He said, "How the hell do you know?" I said, "Well, did you see that airplane?" "Yeah." He says, "Well," I said, "That was a DC-9. That was a Northeast Yellowbird. They only fly two places in New Hampshire, Manchester and Keene. We're at Keene." So I said, "All I got to do is head 090 and we'll take us to the east." So he's looking at me. He says to me, "Did you get his fucking name?" That type of thing.
Right? Did you read his name tag on his blouse as he went by? Or?
Did he need a crown on his mower for crying out loud?
I'm not kidding you. I could see the expression on the guy's face, looking out the window. I don't believe his eyes like this here. Because they told them we were there, and they took off anyways, and they were telling me, "Watch, you're going to hit him, you're going to hit him." Because they still had me on raw return. So now we're heading 090, and as we come in between clouds, they finally figured that because I was clear to 9,000, and they were trying to search for me for 9,000, but 9,000 was all clouds. So the guy in the pacer finally got smart enough and said, "Hey, look, this guy's got to be staying clear of the clouds. We're just going to go up and down in between layers." So I think it was like 7,000 feet. We're flying. All of a sudden, there's the C-130 in front of us. Whoa.
Okay, I got to stop. I got to find out what time of the day is.
Oh, this is at night.
Dark as night.
Yeah, this is night.
So it's no moon kind of night.
No.
Overcast layers all the way up. So it's just
it was completely covered the clouds as we went up over 20,000 feet.
It's darker than the inside of a cat. Okay,
and
so you're in between layers and you're looking for a C-130 now.
Well, no. I'm at this time. I'm trying to hold a heading of 090, dead reckoning, where I think I'm going to be over the Nashville, Manchester area. because while I'm doing this, I'm writing everything down. I'm an old man. So I was a good director because I was a navigator. So I kept track of everything.
Yeah.
And as we're heading 090, the C-130 just pops up. So we hit him with the flashlight. He hits us with a landing light, which is follow me. So they're all excited and everything else. So we get behind him, but the layers started getting lower and lower. So as I'm up over here this way, and I get my guy, he said, look, don't let me run into it. Also, because he wasn't a pilot, this guy. So I'm trying to get real close to him. But of course, it's prop. So finally I said, fuck this. So I pour the coals to it. I climbed back up into the clouds because I knew I can't stay behind him. So I said, maybe I can get on top. And then see where I'm going. So now the C-130 is telling Boston, blah, 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 we lost him. So they don't know what's going on. But the C-130 guy said, he was heading 090 before I picked. I said, I think he knows where he is. So this guy was shot, the C-130 guy. And so I tell Charlie, look, I'm going to try to get on top. Maybe I could see some lights underneath the cloud further down. Maybe we could see something in between higher. So poor guy, he was a real heavy smoker. He's always passing out. So now we start getting buildups. And then we started getting lightning. It started snowing. So we're getting all the static lightning back and forth. And it was we're getting thunder. Now we're getting thunderstorm buildups because the cold front was coming. Now I said, holy shit, we're going to get the crap kicked out of us. So now I'm trying to fly up, trying to go up to altitude. And we got caught in a buildup. And it was like being in a friggin' elevator. The airplane just went like this. I wasn't even climbing. I had a pop. It was just going straight up. And I said, holy shit. And I'm looking at the altimeter. We're about passing through 15,000 feet. We're going up into the thunderstorm. I said, so I get to pop back, and Charlie's almost passed out. So I'm watching this. And I got a little woozy. And this really happened in the airplane. My nickname was Butch in my family. And my father used to wake me up every morning when I worked in construction. He'd yell at me, Butch, wake up. And while I'm in a twilight zone, going up to high altitude, I hear my father's voice as clear as day. Butch, wake up. And it jolted me awake. And it was on top, and I could see it. And what happened was, as we got up there, we went to an aerodynamic stall because we had picked up some ice. And so I pushed it down, and we got the living shit kicked out of us. Sleep, bang, boom, I would bang my head on the ceiling. I don't know how that airplane stayed together, but we spit out about 7,000 feet. We came out of it. So poor Charlie, I thought he was going to die. So we picked up.
I was waiting for you to catch the down elevator there.
Yeah, it was probably the most violent thing I've ever been in. I mean, the Aztec was a tough little bird. Thank God I was in that airplane. And as we picked up 090 again, I told Charlie, look, I don't know how much fuel we have. I had no fuel gauges. I didn't fill up in New Jersey. I filled up when I went to Hanscom. So I had maybe about 3 hours. Now we're flying around. And what saved my life really, why we had enough fuel, because I had the right engine pulled back. So it wasn't burning that much fuel. So so we get into that area, and I told Charlie, we got to go down. I want to make a controlled descent. I said, I figure we got to go over by Nashua at this time because they're reckoning. And then we look up and we see the C-130. He's orbiting over a lighted area, which was probably Manchester. Charlie wanted me to follow him. I said, no, we can't do that. That's over a city. It's a major city. We let down and we run out of fuel. We're going to crash into somebody's house or somebody's building, and we're going to kill people on the ground. I said, I won't do that. No. I said, no, we're not following them down. We're going to go down here where I know there's trees and no one's going to get killed. I said, I'm going to set up. Don't worry. I said, this airplane stuff, if anybody's going to, I don't want to kill anybody on the ground. So.
Except yourself.
Well, yeah, but that's the way I thought I was. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. That's the fact that you were thinking that. First of all, is impressive.
Yeah.
My palms are sweating.
This is terrifying,
man. I don't know where this is going.
This is
good God, I know it has a happy ending because you're telling.
You're sitting here telling us, but
I should have been killed. I mean, it's FAA. I'll go through it, but the odds against me. But I that's why if you take a look at the last two things they said, you keep your cool against all odds, and that's what happened. So, anyways, I said, Charlie, we're going to go down here. So what I did was I slowed the airplane up, got a stall, but my airspeed indicator was up because I had no pitot heat, so I didn't know I got a stall. I dropped 10 degrees of flap. I added the power a little. I said, we're going to circle. Then we get down about 1,500 feet. I'm going to go just straighten it out, hit 180, and do like 200 feet rate of descent. And those are going to be pitched up. So if we auger into, we're going to hit the trees. We're going to auger in. It's going to be we're not going to go hit head on. We're going to come down like this. So we'll survive if we hit something. Don't worry about it. So I'm telling them, don't worry, we're going to crash. We're going to be okay. So, so meanwhile, the C-130 sees us going down. Oh, shit. So he tells the guys in Boston Center, he's descending down. And so the guy said, is he under control? He says, I don't know. I just saw him go down. Well, the helicopter guy, he decides in this that he's going to go. So he goes down where he thinks I am, and they make a descent AGL on the helicopter, and they go down to 150 feet, and they see nothing, and they pull back up. So now, meanwhile, I'm descending. And now I straighten it out, 180, and I'm going real slow. So I get down. The altimeter reads about 500 feet. It had to be off because I hadn't had the wrong setting. And all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. I pull the airplane up a little bit. Charlie said, what's that? I said, I think we hit some treetops. Boom, boom, boom again.
Top of the tree.
We hit the treetops. We're skimming the treetops. So I said, fuck. So I had a little power. I said, now hold my altitude. And as we're holding the altitude, the ground breaks away. I let down. And I'm not kidding you. Right in front of me was fucking runway 7 at Nashville with all the lights on. So Charlie said, what? I said, Charlie, said, it had to be there or else we were dead. He said, what's that? So I said, now we're all excited. Lower the landing gear. Touch down. And the runway's a sheet of ice. Because they've been having freezing rain. It was closed.
Of course it is. Because
so why wouldn't it be at this
point? I'm trying to keep my feet frozen. I couldn't feel because they're up there. And I'm doing differential power, chirping down the goddamn runway. Get to the end of the runway. I chop the right power, throw full power on the left, stop on the right brake, and the airplane spins around right into the ramp. We didn't hit any airplanes.
No. How is this possible?
Yeah, that's the story.
Okay, so there's so many things I don't even know where to start. But
this is almost like Chevy Chase in Vacation.
Oh my gosh.
We're here, kids.
Right. You came out of the clouds,
hit the runway.
And on the runway. There's the runway.
Well, I knew the area well, and I knew where they were was the C-130 was Manchester. So I had a good distance where Nashville was. So I said, well, probably, and that was what I was aiming for. That was the point that I was aiming for, to stay away from everybody. And what happened was, well, obviously it was a lot of luck, but I did a great job of dead reckoning. That's what saved our ass.
So I was writing questions down frantically as you're telling the story, and I can't read my own writing, but I can read this. So from the time you had the initial problem with the prop, and then the ice, you threw on all the icing equipment, and that's what caused the electrical fire.
Yeah. Well, because it overloaded the system, and what happened? The circuit breaker never popped; it fused. It was a faulty circuit breaker.
Okay. Well, so from the time you took off until the time you ended up on the ramp without hitting it
in Nashua.
In Nashua, what was the time frame?
Almost 3 hours.
Are we talking?
Almost 3 hours.
Oh my God!
Oh dear God!
When I checked the tank, the left tank wasn't even wet because that's the one I had the full power on. The right tank had maybe a half an inch of fuel in it.
And your heart is still beating 53 years later? Oh dear God!
Charlie didn't have a heart attack.
No, Charlie didn't have.
Holy shit!
And I'll tell you what happened after he landed. He started kissing me and everything, and hugging me, motherfucker, because he was all, we're alive. In fact, that night I had stopped smoking when I was in Vietnam. I smoked with them that night. So give me a cigarette.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Okay.
It's funny.
Catch your breath, Big. Holy shit!
I have all the documentation from the FAA. and I have the statements from the C-130 guy and the helicopter guy. And what happened was, so we land, we walk into the terminal, the old terminal in Nashua. My feet were frozen because, they were up on the thing, and we didn't have any heat. So my feet are underneath, so they really got cold.
Yeah.
So we walk into the terminal, and there's about 4 or 5 guys listening on the radio. Because they listen to all the drama. They figured that they got ground crews. They thought we crashed. Because the helicopter said, I didn't see anything at 150 feet. There's no way. He must have crashed in. We all get into the woods.
They're expecting wreckage to be somewhere. They're going to find wreckage.
Absolutely.
Probably when the sun comes up.
So we go into the terminal, and the guy says, where'd you guys come from? I said, oh, we just landed. What do you mean you just landed? He said, the airport's closed, freezing rain. Yeah. He said, they have an emergency going around. Everything's closed. They closed the whole sector. I said, yeah, well, he landed. I said, there's an Aztec lost. Oh, no, that's us. We just landed. So the guy says, what do you mean you just we just landed. We're okay. We're good. So I go to the men's room. And when we come out of the men's room, there's like 10 guys in the goddamn. They're all up my rack. So I said, yeah, look, I gotta call air traffic. I gotta call Boston Center to let them know. So I pick up the phone. They had the red phone, direct line. So I pick up the phone, and Charlie's listening. And I said, yeah, look, I'm trying to talk. Yeah. So the guy says, who are you? I said, well, who the hell are you? I said, I'm trying to make a report. Well, the guy says, well, who are you? We're all upset here. We just lost an airplane. Oh, I said, what happened? He said, an airplane crashed. Now we've been trying to get this guy down. We thought we were all upset here because we couldn't save him. I said, was that clown in 6408 Yankee? So he said, who's this? I said, well, this is the pilot, Andy Angelo. He says, where are you? I said, we landed in Nashua. He says, you made it on the ground. I said, yeah, I guess so. I'm talking to you. So he says to me, don't go anywhere. We're going to come pick you up. Because Nashua's, Boston Center is in Nashua.
Yeah, they're right down the street from the airport there. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
he says, don't move.
No, we're going to pick you up, right?
Oh, my God.
So so the guy who was the lead there, Travis, he's all upset. He goes into his office, and this guy, he's all upset because he thought he was going to save us. So the guy pulls him up and says, hey, there's a guy in Nashua who wants to talk to you. Because I don't know, they told me this later. And I said, well, who is that? Some guy wants to talk to you. So they put him on and I tell him, they throw the speaker on, and I scream to him, hey, this is the pilot from 08 Yankee. What the hell are you doing? Of course, the guys in the center hear this, and they all erupt. So they pick me up, and we drive. Me and Charlie go to Air Traffic Control Center in Boston, Nashua. We go in there, and as we're walking in there, everybody's dead quiet. I hear one guy say, he's just a fucking kid. So I'm walking. So my guy says, hey, he's the biggest man I know. So walking around, no one's saying anything. Then the supervisor comes out, and they start a slow count. And everybody clapped and congratulated. And then the C-130 guy and the helicopter guy. So I talked to the C-130 guy. He was a lieutenant colonel. And he says to me, let me tell you, son, that was the best fucking piece of airmanship I've ever seen in my life. How the hell did you? I said, well, I'm an old Navy navigator tackle. I can dead reckon really well. And I told him my experience level. I had an HEP. I already had thousands of hours at that time. And that's the way it happened. They took us out to the hotel. We got hammered. And that's the rest of the story. I won't go into it because
nice. Took us out to the hotel and we got hammered.
They hammered us. We got so freaking drunk. It was unbelievable. And that airplane stayed there, and then they flew it up to Portland, Maine. They fixed it all up, and then I had to go to Portland, Maine. We sold it. Then I had to fly the bastard from Portland, Maine to Washington, D.C. airport. And I'll tell you, the whole time I made sure it was daytime, no clouds. The whole time I was flying.
Yeah,
the whole time I was flying that airplane down there, I was scared.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to kill you. It literally wanted you dead.
Yeah, we actually went to the manufacturer of the circuit breaker. It was some guy. They were on. I think they were in Saugus or something. And I had the circuit breaker. I said, "Look." He said, "Well, it didn't." I said, "It didn't work. It fused."
Yeah, you tried to kill me,
and it
bastard.
burned out the bus bar. We had a fire. The main bus bar.
It didn't do its job. It did not break the circuit.
No. So he said, "Well, I don't know.
Wow.
We should have." I said, yeah, that's why I read it.
Yeah, no shit.
Maybe you should check the line. I said, yeah, that's what happened.
Check your engineering numbers. Yeah. Come back and see me later. Son of a...
Well, Messman, I'm glad. First of all, that's an amazing story, and I'm going to be processing this for a while. I can't read my writing. I was writing so fast because you talk. I don't know if you realize this or not, but you talk kind of fast.
Well, I'm from Boston. I know I do. my wife warned me, "Don't talk too fast. You talk too fast." No, I'm not talking.
I can't write as fast as you're talking. But the thing is as I'm writing, I'm trying to process what you're saying, and I'm like, well, did he just say what I thought he said? Yes, you did just say that.
Well, you got to read my book.
There you go.
Yes, I do.
Go get the book, Wings of My Father. That's outstanding. All right.
Funny, I tell the story from the cockpit of a 767, and this actually happened. I was flying over to London, and my co-pilot, who was a Boston kid, started talking about, I said, where'd you go to school? I went to Northeastern University. Oh, okay. So he says to me, did you ever hear the story of a light twin getting lost in the 70s and they shut down the whole Northeast corridor? So I said to him, no, tell me about it. Well, they send up and they saved his ass. Air traffic control. I said, let me tell you the real story. I saved my own ass, and that's a true story. He was like, so I had to.
No shit. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. 776 going to London. Was that when you were flying for an airline?
Yeah, I was a
or
captain.
Flying cargo?
I was a captain of United Airlines.
Okay.
I flew the 737, all the 57, 67, 47, 400. I was based in New York. I was New York based.
How do you spell that?
What, New York?
New York?
New York. New York. Oh, sorry. New York. For a second there, I thought I wasn't.
No, New York. W-A-W-K.
I'm pushing your buttons, man. I'm pushing your buttons. That's great. Fantastic.
Oh, man.
So the kid that told the story, did he do a pretty good job?
Well, the kid was funny when the kid was telling me what he thought. When I told him that was me, he didn't believe me. So then I told him he says, "Yeah, that's what happened." I said, "Well, why did they tell that story?" And the reason why they told that story, the thing was, look if you keep it, the air traffic control system worked and all this stuff and all the different search, they shut it down. They had the helicopter and all this other stuff. I said, what did they say about the pilot? Well, he was really lucky. No, I said, it wasn't lucky. It was skill that saved my ass. I had luck, but it was my skill. The main thing was I didn't panic. And I just didn't jump at the first thing. I knew I had plenty
believe
of
you're
fuel.
going to survive and keep working.
Let me see what's going to happen. And that's what it is. And that's always.
Well, you did.
I've done that in every emergency I have. I used to tell my guys,
unless
it's fucking burning, baby, we got a fire in the cockpit. Think what you're doing.
Time, right?
Yeah. So I'd like to back way up then, though, and said, so you went in the Navy and went down to flight schools and NFO,
right.
But you said you already had your pilot's license. So
I had my pilot's license when I was in the Navy.
Yeah. So how'd you get that? When and where did you get that? Well, and how much experience did you have when you went active?
I started flying when I flew a little bit out of Lawrence Airport when I was in college. And then when I went down when I joined the squadron, they had an aero club there. So I started flying at aero clubs. Then I started getting my license. There was a lot of the NFOs did that. They all wanted to be pilots. A lot of them were frustrated pilots. So I started getting my ratings. Then I started taking. I went to San Jose. And then when I got out of the service, I used a VA bill to get my flight instructor ratings. And I already had a bunch of hours, so I got my ATP price. I don't think I was out of the service less than a year. I got a multi-engine ATP.
Oh, that's great.
So I had. What happened was that I was flying so damn much that I accumulated so much time. Like I say, my hours are not all pilot time, but they're flight hours. I mean, I had 4,000 hours in the P3. In one tour.
Okay, that right there is kind of amazing.
Yeah,
because you were in the Navy for 4 years.
I was in the squad. Yeah, the Navy. I had about 300 hours when I joined the squadron, and I got 3,750 hours in the P3 in 3 years.
In 3 years, so that's 1,000 over
1,200 a year. 1,200 and change a year.
Yeah. So that, first of all, that takes intentionality. I
Well,
mean, that
that's-
takes. I mean, it's a hard
That's
to do.
1250.
Well,
Oh,
I
man.
tell you
Yeah.
what,
I mean, that's what I said to him in the pre-chat. He had to live in that damn airplane.
Yeah.
To do 1,250 hours a year in an airplane, you're living in the
I got
damn
a
thing.
3,000-hour pin from Lockheed when I had 9 more months to go in the squadron. What happened was when I joined the squadron, they were flying out of the Philippines.
That's a career's
Oh
worth.
yeah,
Of flying.
Yes.
oh yeah. I talked
Yeah,
to
there are guys that go their entire careers don't come up with those hours.
20-year Navy pilots don't get that
No,
flight
well,
time,
you got to
man.
remember our normal flight was 13 hours. So we go 13 hours, 8 hours off, 13 hours. We're flying 135 hours, 145 hours a month.
Wow.
We lived in the airplane.
Wow.
It got so big.
So were you hard crewed, same crew every time type?
Yeah,
thing?
well, once you got into a crew, you normally stayed a certain period of time. And I was lucky because I was the air crew training officer. So I had my pick. So I would select where I wanted to go. So what they call Alpha Bravo. So my crew was Alpha qualified. We were the top crew in the whole squadron. So we got to pick what we want to do. But when we were overseas in Nam, we first
So that's what I was going to ask, though. So you were flying out of Subic, you said?
we were flying out of Sangley Point. My first tour in Vietnam, but then we went to Thailand, Utapao, the Gulf of Siam. It was a B-52 pace, and it was F-105s. So we flew river rat patrols along the Mekong. They were the Yankee and Maritime patrols.
Okay. So what was your main mission? Was there a bunch of Soviet subs? There weren't a bunch of Soviet subs as any threat there. What were you doing?
Well, our airplanes were configured with 5-inch Haval missiles and bullpup missiles. Our primary mission on the river rat patrols was protection of the swift boats.
Okay.
All right. The other thing was we were trying to spot the guys along the coast. Okay, by the way,
So protection of the swift boats, and then gathering it.
gathering intel. Yeah,
Guys,
we had a lot of
coast intel.
But I tell you, it was
Wow.
when people say what was about the war? Well, I try to tell you the word that describes war when this confusion. No one knew what the hell they were doing.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times we were shot at by friendlies.
are you shitting me?
No. We would be running dock ship and DEFCON, and we would flying off. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Our own guys, they didn't know because we weren't squawking anything because that was part of our.
Right. And when you're doing the river rat patrol, what kind of altitudes were you?
100 to
flying at?
300 feet.
Oh shit!
Oh dear God.
That's not a. First of all, that's a big airplane.
That's not a low level airplane.
Jungle, treetop level in the Mekong Delta. I can't imagine. Yeah, probably everybody was shooting. at you.
Well,
Even
and that's how I got exposed to Agent Orange. I found out later it was from that explosion, but they were spraying at that time. They were spraying the base too in Utapao. When we went to Utapao the first year, the base was being built. We were sleeping in tents in the woods. It was really primitive.
Wow.
See, and everybody talks about you Navy P3 guys staying in, having per diem checks and staying in nice places. No, you were the real deal. There's the swift boats.
Yeah, we were the real deal. You know what it was too? I'll tell you what happened was, we had a lot of guys get really panicky was because there'd been a war. So we had all the light heavies, the commanders and up. They wanted to get their combat commendations. So they were looking to advance their careers. So they were volunteer for all this bullshit thing that was dangerous. They even came up with an idea. And that was the mine. They wanted to mine Haiphong Harbor with P3s because that was one of our missions. So I'm down in a meeting with the XO. Now here I am. I'm a 21-year-old fucking ensign that has no operational experience at all. And I'm looking at this clown. And now my street temper is really starting to come. I'm with this guy who actually turned in his wings that day. And I went through the rag with him. Nice guy. I felt so sorry for him. And I'm listening to this clown describe what we're going to do. So I did the thing. I said to him, we're going to have 90% fatality if we do this. You want us hanging on our prop to 130, dropping mines. And I said, you out of your fucking mind? I said, we're not doing this. I said, we're not doing this. We're not doing it. So here I was an ensign. We all walked out of the briefing, and I was the lead guy.
Oh, that's great.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that sounds like a really bad.
Yeah, it was a bad one. They were so excited about promoting themselves and getting all the ribbons and combat, all that other stuff. So it got better as of the second time I was there, but it was bad. All these guys. Here's a little bit of a little story. When I first time I went to and flying and watching the B-52 guys, all the guys flying the B-52s. The first year I was there, they were all lieutenant colonels in the left seat. Going up, there was no danger. The second time when they were starting to hit them with Sims and everything else, all the guys on the left seat were captains. The other guys were lieutenants.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As it got serious, all those goddamn light heavy, they didn't get back in the left seat. That's a true story.
I totally believe that.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. That's exactly how it went.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I have in 19. So this was. So you're talking 1965, 66 time.
I was
frame,
there
right?
in 65, 66, and 67, 67.
How new were the P? Was the P3 was pretty?
Yeah,
it was fresh.
we flew the P3A, which was the first model, and I believe VC-46 was the first squadron to get it. So
Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool.
and then we got the B model afterwards. The B model. We got the A
Nice.
and the B
Okay.
model.
All right.
So the mission. So give me a typical day, a typical mission day for you in the P3 in 1966.
All right. Now we're talking NAM.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
when we were based, when we were on the Southwest, we were actually a designated wing, not just a squadron. So we were in charge of a bunch of other squadrons because we were our headquarters also in Okinawa in Naha. So we had a lot of different missions. The typical missions out of Utapau was we take off, fly out the Gulf of Siam, and then swing up along the coast. We'd be talking to the guys on the ships. We'd talk to the riverboats, and we'd be communicating with the guys. And we'd fly up normally where the carrier was. Most of the time, I think the Enterprise was there. And we'd be talking to them, and we'd be reporting stuff. And our secondary mission was SAR. Because a lot of times when the guys would bail out, they'd be in the ocean. We would spot them, and we would tell them where they were. So that was a secondary mission we had. So we would do that. So we fly up, and we were taking, and we're doing ECM, and we basically just look and make sure that nothing's happening at it. And then where they were blasting, we would report if we saw some guys, on the coastline. So it was more like a surveillance and a protection at the same time if we come across anybody.
Did I hear you say ECM as in electronic?
Yeah, we had ECM. The P3, what I flew, it had a lot of stuff. It did have an ECM, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was, in layman's terms, for some of our non-aviator listeners, that was electronic countermeasures to shut down search radars or guidance radars. That sort of thing.
Well, not so much that. It was more passive than active. We were using it mostly. Well, we use it.
Intel gathering.
Yeah, Intel, but I tell you, we used it the most because our secondary mission was actually monitoring the Chinese out of the mainland. And I had a lot of flights in between Taiwan and China. And those bastards, they would launch their MiGs, and we would call them the Skycap, and the Taiwanese, they would launch their, whatever the hell, I can't remember what they were flying, Skycap. So we did a lot of electronic intelligence on the Chinese, and also Russia when I was up in ADAC. So we did a lot of electronic intelligence gathering. Plus, we found some submarines, too, out there. We found the Russian sub over Nam. We kept them under there so we did find some subs.
Oh, sneaky bastards!
Yeah. Well, you know what they used to do? Yeah. They used to sit their subs off of Guam, because at that time the B-52s were launching out of Guam for doing raids in Vietnam, and they would sit off.
Okay.
So when we found out, we went up to Guam and we found one. We stayed on top of that bastard. It was an old diesel. So we stayed on there for that bastard for 24 hours. He had to come up. We're bombing the shit out of him with depth charge, back to depth charge, boom. They must have been going crazy. We actually stayed on it for 24 hours. My airplane, we were on it for like 8 hours.
Damn.
Nobody knows
No.
this.
Right?
You know, that's crazy.
Well,
That's awesome.
Well, Search for Red October was very realistic, by the way. So I really like that book because a lot of that stuff you see in the book, the SOSIC stations, and I don't know, unless you have been on anti-submarine warfare or the school in North Island was very extensive. It was like 3.5 months of anti-submarine warfare, nuclear weapons delivery, oceanography, all of that. So it's a very intense course. Just when you go in the RAG, you practice it. So you don't. A guy doesn't really usually become a tactical coordinator until he's been on an airplane, usually for about 1.5 2 years. So it takes that long to learn all the different exercises and stuff. It takes a while.
And I understand Clancy was debriefed by intelligence agencies over that book. That where'd you get this information?
Yeah. How do
A lot of that.
You're an insurance salesman, dude.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of that stuff that was in that book, that was classified when I was in. Like the SOSIC, you know what the SOSIC stations are? SOSIC stations are an array of listening devices that the Coast Guard used, and with that, all the rays off the coast. And they could pick up a sub or any sound thousands of miles from California.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And they had them on San Francisco, and they had them on Nantucket. And they used to monitor everything. And that was in the book. I went to a SOSIC station in Monterey, California. I spent 6 weeks out there learning all the different things.
I'll be darned.
Nice.
Wow. Okay.
Well, these are some great stories here. I'll tell you what. And I know he's got some more actually about being in Pensacola and being a Bostonian in Pensacola in the 60s. Yeah, so we're going to want to go into those in a little bit. But I think Fig and I would like to tell you a little bit about our sponsor who's helping bring these great stories to you.
Hey, everyone. Today we're diving into something that all you aspiring airline pilots and those needing an ATP or a type certificate will want to tune into. Flight Training International, or FTIratings.com. Since its inception in 1993, FTI has been dedicated to elevating the standards of pilot training.
That's right, Fig, but FTI isn't your ordinary flight school. It's a veteran-founded institution that's all about delivering high-quality and cost-effective training across a wide spectrum of airliners. From the Airbus to Boeing simulators, their training covers it all, and these simulators mimic the exact conditions you'll face in the real world.
Yeah, these simulators are no joke. They're the same full-motion, FAA-certified beasts used by all the major airlines all over the world. This means every training session isn't just a lesson, it's a real-world experience. Plus, the instructors have been where you are. Transitioning from military jets to commercial airliners is smoother than ever.
And the credentials these instructors bring to the table are impeccable. We're talking about professional pilots with previous military experience and decades of flying commercial airliners around the globe. They're here to guide you, to teach you, and to ensure that you're ready to handle everything from transatlantic crossings to tight landings at bustling international airports.
FTI also offers special programs like ATP CTP, which stands for Airline Transport Pilot Certification Training Program. That's been mandated by Congress to ensure pilots are thoroughly prepared for the demands of modern aviation. And the best part, all this can be accessed from wherever you are, thanks to their innovative training materials available on your iPad.
Nice. And because we love giving our listeners the best deals, here's one just for you. Mention So There I Was when you sign up for your first course at FTI and get a sweet $100 off. Whether you're a seasoned pilot looking to up your skills or a military aviator aiming for the commercial skies, FTI is your launching pad.
So what are you waiting for? Check out FTIratings.com. That's FTIratings.com. Join the ranks of their esteemed alumni, including pilots from the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Navy, and even the FAA. If they trust FTI, you can too.
Absolutely, Fig. And don't forget that you can use your veterans benefits to pay for the cost of FTI. So gear up, check your avionics, and prepare for takeoff. Go to FTIratings.com and get started today. Your future as a top-tier airline pilot starts at Flight Training International. That's why FTIratings.com is the best option for you. Don't just fly, soar with FTI. I was cruising along the other evening when my stomach growled louder than the engines. And you know what that means, don't you, Fig?
Well, that means it's time to talk about America's #1 meal kit, Hello Fresh. When I'm not in the cockpit, the kitchen is my next challenging mission field. But hey, who says a pilot can't be a chef?
Exactly. And that's where HelloFresh comes to the rescue, like a trusty co-pilot in the kitchen with over 50 menu options and even more market items each week. It's like having an autopilot for your meals.
Yeah, and let's talk about their quick and easy recipes. We're talking meals ready faster than you get a full route clearance from ATC in 20 minutes or less. It's perfect for when I want to spend less time cooking and more time enjoying summer vibes.
Oh, that's for sure. And in my own experience, cooking with HelloFresh makes me feel like a hero at home. My wife usually handles the kitchen, but when I take over with these easy-to-follow recipes and fresh seasonal ingredients delivered right to our door, it almost makes me feel like I'm cheating. It's simple and always turns out impressively delicious.
Absolutely. It's not just about flavor. With HelloFresh, you're also reducing food waste by up to 45% compared to traditional grocery shopping. Everything is pre-portioned, which means you're only using what you need. And that's a smooth glide path towards less waste.
And for those of you planning a summer getaway, remember, HelloFresh is as flexible as your travel schedule. Update your delivery address and enjoy those easy HelloFresh meals at your holiday destination. Super convenient.
So, if you're looking to free yourself from meal planning woes and make delicious food the priority this summer, head over to HelloFresh.com/SoThereIWasApps for free appetizers for life. What? One appetizer per box while your subscription is active? That's HelloFresh.com/SoThereIWasApps.
Wow. And remember, whether you're navigating the skies or navigating the flavors of a HelloFresh meal, we've got what you need. So there I was, just a pilot with a skillet, and thanks to HelloFresh, now every meal is a smooth landing. Now, it's time for more high-altitude tales on So There I Was. Keep your altitude up and your kitchen cool with
HelloFresh.com/SoThereIWasApps.
Sticks just put it up there. It's the Sound Surveil system run by the Navy, a network of subservice transducers, which are microphones, and it's on wikipedia.org/wiki/SOSUS, SOSUS. And I think, I could be wrong, Fig, does that ring a bell as what they were able to listen to that sub implosion last year, the one that was trying to go down to the Titanic? Is that? Oh, you can't hear me. Can you hear me? You're back. We hear you, Fig.
I don't hear him.
So, yeah, I can barely hear him. He's not speaking that loud into his mic. He's going to go away and come back. So let me go on and take you, Messman, back down to Pensacola. You're 20 years old. You're from Boston, and you find yourself in the heart of the Deep South. How'd that go for you?
Well, I tell you, this is how it started. I go down there, of course, you go check in there in the first 10 days of indoctrination, right? You got the
right.
suits on, so 10 days you're all together in an indoc. The second day we're in indoc. Well, we're all standing in attention, and we're actually in our skivvies, got t-shirt and skivvies on. And when I went down there, I was jacked. I mean, I looked like Mr. I mean, I had 17.5-inch pipes. I was a mean little bastard. I mean, I was benching 350. I was a AAU power lifter. No one messed with me. So I'm standing in line, and this sergeant comes up to me, Sergeant Hoffman. I'll never forget this guy.
Okay.
He's about 6'3", probably a WW2 veteran. And he stands in front of me and says, "You're a guinea, I can smell you."
Oh.
You know, I'm standing there and I'm looking at this guy, and I give him a fucking leg. You want to do something about it? So I'm looking at him. He says, "You're a guinea." You're a guinea, I can tell you're a guinea. So I'm just saying to myself, what am I going to do? I'm going to punch this guy in the fucking mouth or get thrown out of here. So I'm standing and I'm looking at him. So he grabs me, picks me up. So I grabbed his wrist and he felt my strength and he got nervous. So he threw me against the fucking wall. Yeah, so he takes me into this office. And there's a couple other sergeants and there's a yeoman in there. And he starts on me, right? So I go up against the wall. He comes at me. I pick up my hand like this. I said, keep your fucking hands off me. You put your fucking hands on me again, I'm going to fucking hit you. Oh, now they don't know what to do. So there's a black guy in there, sergeant. He starts laughing. He was from Dorchester, Boston boy. He says, where you from? You're in my Boston. I said, I'm from Winter Hill, Somerville. He starts laughing. So he says to Hoffman, keep your fucking hands off of this guy because he only knows one thing. He said, he's from one of the toughest areas in all of Boston. Stay away from him. He's a street kid. So that was my introduction. So when I go back, all the other cadets, this shit in their pants. Just, they're all scared to death. We started off. So one of the guys said, what happened? I said, well, yeah, I don't want anybody putting their hand. I didn't come down here for this bullshit. So what happened, I was down there. Of course, the cadet officers picked up on that. And I was the only boy, not to the, all the guys were from the South. We had a couple of guys from California, but they're all from Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Texas. They're all yahoos from the South. And so I ran into a lot of problems. I got into so many altercations, they had all these demerits. I think you could get sick of that. So if I got a couple more demerits, they're going to throw me out. So I get called in. Sergeant Howard takes me in to see the colonel, Marine colonel. So I'm in there, and he's looking at me. He says, you're number 1 in PT. You're number 2 in academics. You're number 3 in military. What the hell's with you? I said, well, sir, I said, I come down here and I'm getting these other boys. They like to call me Guinea. Or they think I'm a Jew and they call me Kike. I said, I got people trying to put their hands on me. I said, I don't let anybody put their hands on me. I said, if you try to put your hands on me, I'll pop you. I said, I didn't come down here for this bullshit. So he says to me, well, did they try to get? I said, yeah. One of the guys said, why don't you DOR? You know what I said to him? I ain't fucking him. I said, my father won't let me back in the house if I couldn't make it out of this pussy place. I said, I'm not going anywhere. So he starts laughing. So he says to me, boy, you belong in the Marines, not the Navy. So he says, Sergeant Howard, he said, I want you to watch out for him. There better not be any more demerits. This kid's got reported. He said, I'm going to take your stripes. The very next day, I'm in line for mess, and this kid starts on me. Well, he comes around, grabs this cadet officer, take the thing, and they kicked him out of the program.
Wow.
And that was that. I never had any problems after that.
How about that?
Whoa.
Well, there was so much problems down there. When I graduated last week, Cadet Officer Week, that the Sergeant Smith, who really liked me, because I was a street kid, I was a tough kid. Me, and it was a Mexican, I don't know what the other guy, he might have been Puerto Rican. They send us to a room. We're sitting at a table, and all of a sudden, all these flags, Cinnabons, all these guys from the training center, admirals, captains, they come into the room. I said, what the hell is this? And they wanted to interview us on what the trouble, we had any troubles, because, they considered an Italian a minority, I guess, about the minority. So we started mentioning all this stuff, and they were right nice. So that was, because this was previous to when Zumwalt came in. After Zumwalt came in, everything kind of changed after Zumwalt.
Right.
So there was a culture there, and when I went into the Navy, it was a Southern white. They were all Southern white guys. It was a good old boy network. I never saw a black naval aviator or a Jewish naval aviator the whole time I was in the service. Not one.
Dang.
Two other. I saw a couple of Italian pilots. That was it. It was a good old boy network. Yeah, now it's cool. While you're going back,
They fixed that.
That's 60 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's amazing how short of a time ago that was, and that that people had that attitude towards people.
Yeah,
it blows my mind.
Well, it was not only it wasn't that, but I tell you a little bit of the history. I'm Sicilian, down south, especially in the New Orleans area, because they had a lot of influx of Sicilians. When the blacks left the South, all these Sicilians came in from like a 500,000 and they just considered them little, strong brown people. They equated them with the Africans. So that attitude was pervasive through the South that people like me, we were considered like Africans, like black people. They put us in the same category. So that's how that happened there. Weird, huh?
Wow.
And and my mother tells the stories in Philadelphia that help wanted, Irish need not apply. It's the same thing to the Irish.
Yeah, I used to laugh because my mother was red hair and blue eyed, as white as a ghost. Because Italians all look all different. My father had 2 redheaded sisters, but he was as black as the ace of spades because there's so many different types of bloods in him. Yeah, I mean, so there was a lot of that. Because you remember, this was in 1964, Mississippi burning, when all those guys got killed. So everybody, it was so bad at one time. We had a few dungaree liberties. When I used to go off the base, I would make sure that I went out with a couple of good old boys, and I wasn't floating around by myself. I always went out with Southern.
There you go.
And I tell you the
strength
truth,
in numbers.
The guys that knew me, they protected me like you wouldn't believe. They wouldn't let anybody fuck with me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it just sounds like you wouldn't let anyone.
No, I mean,
they
knew that I would get in trouble if I kept doing so. When someone would harass me, Vic Brown would be and punch him in the face, and that was it. But I wasn't the one doing it.
Hey, well, I think we should move on to a couple other stories too. You've given us some bullet points to chat about, and one that sounds really good is Air New England, Montpelier, Vermont story. But you've got some fuel starvation stories on a 737 and contamination on it looks like a light civil.
Yeah, which one do you want? You want to do the?
Let's take them in order. Let's go with Air New England and Montpelier, Vermont. What happened there?
This is kind of a funny story, and I'll talk about what happened. I was ferrying a twin otter. I was captain with the Air New England. Back I got hired, and we were flying Fairchilds and Conrail 580s. But I was ferrying twin otter from Burlington down to Boston. It was a blizzard all over the Northeast. Part 91, we blast off. While we're coming over there, I get a radio message from our chief of operations. I won't use his name. Poor guy got killed in an accident. He says to me, "I'm in Montpelier. Can you pick me up?" I said, "Well, what's the weather?" He says, "Well, it's basically 0-0, but you can try it." And I said, "All right, part 91, I'll try." Well, I had flown for Rocky Mountain Airways out in Denver. So I was, there it is, in the wind. And so I was still qualified. And I was used to 37.5 degrees. So I was still, most of the guys in New England weren't. So I was flying with this young co-pilot. And of course, I already had thousands of hours. So I told him, "Well, this is what we're going to do." In Montpelier, they didn't have an ILS. They had a localizer. But at the end of the runway, they had a fan marker. So you knew you were where you were in relationship to the runway, right?
Right.
So I let down the MDA. I got 20 degrees. I got the further down. I got the nose down. So I'm following the localizer. I get over the fan marker. I just set up a rate of descent, about 300 feet per minute. They had the big tires. But I go, and I feel the airplane. You can't see anything, but I felt the ground. I knew it. I let go of and I touched down. And so I taxi in, and Palmer, his name, he's all excited because I picked him up. He had made a bet with the guys there that I was going to get in. They said, "No way, you can't see anything. How's he going to get in?" So we go blasting off. So
with the MDA and his wheels touched.
Yeah, this is the technique I used to teach. Like 20 years later, I'm in a hotel, and I'm sitting. The guy's got an FAA tag. "Oh, I said, you work for the FAA?" "Yeah." I said, "Oh, yeah, well, where you work?" I said, "Where you work?" "Oh, I work at the flight service station up in Montpelier, Vermont." "Oh," I said, "I used to fly into there." He said, "I was there. You ever hear of Air New England?" So I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, yeah, they were a regional. They were a 121 operation. Yeah. Those crazy bastards. I had a bet with this guy landed 0-0. We don't know how the hell he landed." I said, that guy's a crazy son of a bitch. You know him?" "Yeah." I said, "That was me." So what are the odds I'm going to run into this guy 20 years later? So I told him how I did it. He was like stunned. I was like, "I can't believe you did that." He says, "We lost 100. So George Parmenter, he was like, no, that's kind of a funny story. So
That's good. But there's some
Right.
there's some genius to that, though.
Right. Absolutely.
So, can you explain for our non-pilots what a fan marker is and the significance of it, on a localizer? Because basically, you were able to tell exactly where you were.
Yeah, because in the fan marker was co-located right at the end of the runway. So.
And can you explain how you identify a fan marker?
Well, you have the lights in there. Boom, you get a light and a beep, 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 beep. Okay?
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
it's like you got the inner marker, middle marker, then you have fan markers. You don't see those anymore now with all the area now.
No,
but they were quite
I
common.
haven't seen one in 25 years.
They were quite common then, especially up in the rural areas where they didn't have. A lot of times the terrain wouldn't allow an ILS because there were hills in the way. So they would use localizers with fan markers along the point to let you know where you were laterally.
That's fan markers.
Fan marker.
Right. Yeah. Markers.
It's a fan marker. Those when I was in the Navy.
MOKKAS.
It was a little white light or a little blue light would come on your instrument panel when you crossed over it.
Yeah.
So, that's awesome.
There you go. All right.
That's great technique.
Yeah, actually, we're going to try. I mean,
Oh, look at that. There's
I've been a flight instructor, all things multi. I mean, since '69, and I was an FAA flight examiner on the Falcon 7X 900E, and also European. So I've been an instructor all my life, and when I fly with the newer guys, and I tell them what we used to do in the older days, they don't believe me. Oh, how could you do that?
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine.
And I used to take I would take my guys up to P's and make them do a GCA approach. I know you guys call it a PAR, and I would make them do a PAR approach, so they would get used to not looking at something and controlling the airplane to touchdown. And it always used to amaze me. Some guys with a lot of experience, they couldn't do it. They would get nervous because they weren't visually seeing anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Doing the rate of descent and heading. So I would make sure. I said, this could save your ass one of these days. We're going to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that was, we've talked about that on the show before too, but the PAR is a precision approach radar. And that's basically where the air traffic controller is looking at your altitude and heading on his radar and giving you guidance down the glide slope onto the runway. So you're a voice activated ILS.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, how about the time that you experienced a fuel starvation incident in a United 737?
I was all right. This is another one. I was flying with a guy who was I've been flight engineer for like 15 years with United. Then they had the big expansion. He ends up one year. He ends up in the left seat in the 737.
Okay.
And he was an ex-Navy pilot too, which kind of surprised me because he seemed like a complete dingbat. Well, anyways, I had been on the airplane for about a year. I was getting ready to upgrade actually to go on the a couple more months on this 57. So we're flying around. This guy just didn't seem to know the systems at all. Every time we do stuff, so we're cruising around 33,000 feet. The airplane, I think, max altitude, I think, was like 35. So we stay between 29 and 33. So I go back because I'm going to go hit the head. So I go into the bathroom. I'm taking a leak. While I'm taking a leak, I hear, Gonna hear again. I hear both engines flame up. Oh, Jesus Christ. So we had a key. So I go in the key, I open the door, and this idiot, he's up over the panel, screwing around with the fuel control panel, stopped both engines. So I jump in the seat. I put the nose over, get the speed up. So I'm trying to reconfigure. He was trying to balance the fuel or something, and he flamed them all.
Oh, dear God.
So we lost I'm calling air traffic control. Yeah, we hit some turbulence. We're going back to altitude. So I restarted to get him started. And he was this guy. I thought he was going to have a heart attack. Because the flight attendant banging on the door. Oh, we lost the engine. So she comes in. The engine stopped. I said, no, she didn't run it. No, they stopped. I said, no, we just hit something. No, they were running. I'm going to report this. No, you're not going to report anything. Everything's cool. So I had to go back and tell him. So this guy, of course, I saved his ass. So I really liked the guy. He was a real personable guy. But I remember when we were flying with him, We lost part of the hydraulic system. We had all the ambient lights going on. He had no idea what to do. I said to him, how can you be a captain and not know the systems in this airplane? This is not a complicated airplane. It's got it's nothing to it, really.
No.
It's just a basic boat.
It's kind of pilot proof.
Yeah, it really is. You don't have to touch anything. Just start the engines and go. There was nothing to it. And that was, so, he was so appreciative that he sent me a case of scotch to my house.
Hey.
There you go.
Was that a 737?
200, yeah, it was the old 200.
That's what I started on. It was that airplane. That was a
It
great
was
airplane.
it was fun to fly. Yeah, really.
Yeah, if you like physically flying airplanes, that was a fun.
I used to yank the bank, and it was fun. I never used the autopilot, and then I was always flying it around.
Well, I was telling him pre-show that the Disco told me one time when he first got hired at his airline that he had gone from flying a full FMC flight mission computer. What's FMC? So I don't even remember what it stands for.
Flight management computer.
Flight management computer. Thank you. He had gone from flying that thing all over the world in a G5, and he got hired into a 737-200, and he was flying like 8 legs a day in and out of O'Hare.
Oh, yeah.
He goes, I never worked harder in a goddamn airplane in my life.
Steam gauges. There were no.
Steam gauges, hand flying, trying to fly an arc, flying NDB approaches, and all this hard ancient shit that we just don't do anymore. He said, I never worked so hard in my life.
Well, I was used to that. In New England, we had FD-109s in our Fairchild, so the displays were very similar when I got on the 37. And I like the FD-109. I mean, I shot approaches down to nothing. When I was in New England, I go into Nantucket. I land 0-0 with the fucking thing. Because they had the flat was around the ocean. Once you got over the runway, you could just set it up. We went to that mine. We landed in, there was a Delta crew on a DC-9. We land. We get into the thing. This captain from Delta screaming at me, "You guys are landing illegal. You never saw anything." I pulled myself. I said, "Shut the fuck up." I said, we brought him back in operation. And did you ever do that? Because the passengers were there. This guy said, but they were frustrated because they couldn't get in and out. They didn't know what we were doing, but we were landing illegally. We did that all the time. You didn't fly in New England during the fog season unless you did that, because you never see anything.
Right. You'd never get it.
Never get anything, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, it sounds like, so you got those two relit, but it sounds like you have November 9122 November.
Yeah, that was
fuel contamination and a twin engine failure. That does not sound good. That sounds like a bad day at the office.
That was a bad day at the office. And how it started was...
Is that the picture?
No, it was a Aero Commander. A Shrike.
Aero
Commander Shrike.
Okay.
Strike Commander.
The brand new Shrike.
That's what...
Bob Hoover.
Yeah, I met...
That's a Bob Hoover air show
Bethany.
demo.
I met him out in Bethany.
Yeah.
And we were in North Carolina, and I was getting fueled up. And one of the fuelers dropped a tool in the tank. Now, the bladder, there was 5 interconnecting tanks, and they fed down into the boost pumps. I said, Jesus Christ, you got to get that out of there. You got to be flying around with the thing in the tank. So I sent my guys, like 4 of them, on an airliner, and I stayed while they took everything apart and they cleaned everything out, whatever. So they took the airplane apart, they put it back together, they got the tool out. So I go blasting off, and I'm going to Baltimore the next day. As I'm going to Baltimore, I noticed that my right fuel pressure was kind of fluctuating. So I threw on the boost pump.
Okay.
Oh, it smoothed it out. I said, all right, well, I'll get it to whatever. Didn't think much of it. Landed, dropped a guy off. Then I'm going from Baltimore. I'm swinging up over by Philly, and I'm going back to Hanscom. So I'm in the clouds about 9,000 feet. And I look up, and the right engine is boom, boost pump, and all of a sudden, the engine just quits. Oh, I got into fire. What the hell? Jesus Christ. So I figured it's just a boost pump. I lost my pumps, engine-driven pump. And I'm looking at it. So I called, that time I was near Westchester County. So I called the airport. I said, look, he says, the airport's closed below landing minimums. I said, shit. I said, maybe the nearest where I can go in. While I'm talking to him, the left engine starts, fuel pressure starts to do it. Now I'm realizing this is fuel contamination. So I say to the guy in Westchester, I want you to record this. This airplane was worked on in North Carolina. I have fuel contamination. I got over 4 hours of fuel in this airplane, and my engines are running quitting. I get some kind of fuel contamination. I'm declaring an emergency. I'm coming in. The guy says, basically 0-0. It doesn't make any difference. I got to land somewhere. So I go in there, and I'm coming in. Again, I come in fast. I leave the gear up because I want in case I will lose the other engine. So I'm coming down. I get on the same thing. I get on the ILS. Once I get to it, I just hold a localizer, and as I'm feeling for the ground, the other one quits. So now I got both engines out. I'm coming down. I touch down. I'm rolling down the runway. The guy from the tower says, "Are you on the ground? We can't see anything." He says, "Yeah." I said, "Can you send the tow truck? I lost my other engine too."
Unbelievable.
So,
Unbelievable.
they had an ASD there. We bring it in. They dropped the filters. It was contaminated. Someone had dropped a rag in the fuel tanks. And it was getting all chewed up by the booster.
Oh, shut down the pumps.
Yeah, I got stuck there for a few days.
Unbelievable.
So that's enough.
That shit is terrifying.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Do you ever feel like you might have used up all your magic dust?
Right?
Yeah.
For fucking crying out loud.
I have had so many things. And it's really funny because when I was a flight engineer, a lot of the captains were new. They've been flight. So I had a flight going down to Houston.
727 by chance?
727, yeah. And I don't know what model it was, maybe 200, whatever. We're up at altitude. And they had the rear end number 2. We get a duct overheat. We could have a fire in the system. So, yeah, believe it. So I tell the captain, Captain, maybe we should up there out there. I said, we can have a fire in there. We can shut this thing down. Oh, no, it's not. I said, we're okay. I said, hey, Captain, the procedures that said I get the checklist over, we're supposed to shut down. This guy never shut down an engine. He's never lost an engine in his life. I said, Captain, we got to shut it down. And the co-pilot's not saying a goddamn thing because he's afraid of the captain. I said, fuck this. I reached up. I thought, oh, boy, shut the fucking engine down myself. Pulled it back. I said, now I'll go through the checklist. I thought he was going to have a stroke. You should have thought. I said, what are you worried about? Number 37, we can glide to you.
There's 2 more motors.
You got plenty of power.
Yeah, especially to run the rear. There was no asymmetrical thrust at all. We land, and when they pulled it down, guess what? It was burning. It was burning back there. We were at burn. Yeah. So I can go so many times where the guys that sat side saddle for so many years at United, when they went back in the pilot seat, they were nervous. I was deadheading on a flight going to Boston, maybe out of Chicago, I don't remember. And so I decided to go up in the cockpit to watch the landing. We're landing on 27 at Logan. I was going home. So I'm sitting in the cockpit.
Okay.
The flight engineer looked like he was 12. The captain looked like he was 90. First officer looked like he was 35. So we're going down. We're on downwind. They lower the landing gear. All the lights come on. Well, the A system in the 727, that's one day. A lot of times you lower the landing gear, it severs the line on the A system, just dumps it out. So we had a complete failure of the A system. So I said to the flight engineer didn't even pick it up. So I told him, hey, you just lost the A system. You better tell. Now all the lights, the amber lights up overhead are coming on. So I better there's no checklist. I said, so the captain now, he said, you're having a heart attack. What happened? I said, you lost the A system. No problem, Captain. I said, so he goes to suck the gear. Leave the gear down, man. Leave the gear down. It's connected to that. You don't want to unlock it.
Yeah,
it's down.
It's good.
Yeah.
What about the flaps? Yeah, that's a different system. Nobody in the cockpit knew the airplane, and I hadn't been a flight engineer on the airplane for 10 years. I said, Jesus Christ. I said, you guys you're scaring me. So I said, look, I said, run the list. So tell him you're going to go around. So now he wants the first officer to land. I said, what are you lining up for? They're using 27. You got half your system, half your brakes, and you want to land on 27? No, are you out of your mind? Tell them you want 22 right. Will they do it?
You went 10,000 feet.
Yeah, they'll let you land. Declare it a fucking emergency or something. So the
Yeah, the captain's authority. You declared the emergency. It's your airplane, your sky, your airport.
I just
Oh, man.
and I was saying to myself, my God, is this real? So we came around, the co-pilot landed. I swear to God, he ate up almost 6,000 feet of runway before he touched down. We slam on the runway, and I tell the captain, when you get, just keep it rolling, use differential braking so he can pull off the runway. What do you think he does? He stops on the runway. United didn't have a tug with a radio on it, so we sat on the runway, with closing that runway for 45 minutes.
Oh, geez.
Oh, of course.
I mean, I could go on and on the incidences I had at United.
Well, that's a great tale. But I'll tell you the interesting thing here. You've touched on it almost inadvertently, and Sticks pointed it out to me, and I think it's a great point. Is knowing your systems, understanding your airplane and what it's doing and what it can and can't do for you based on what systems you've got.
Yeah,
and that's so important. That'll save your life.
Yeah, you know, and I always was amazed that when I was flying, I'd be flying with guys, and I'd be on the left seat in the 767 or something, and I would ask them a question, and I said, well, just a basic question on the systems, and they would like, oh. I said, well, how can you? What do you mean you don't know? That's basic stuff. If something happens, this here it's a real good example. I was flying from London, I think, to New York, and the guy I was flying with was an Air Force C-5 commander. Okay, he was a C-5 left seater, and the other guy, I don't know what he was.
Right.
And I had flown with him. He was a good thing. I think he was a lieutenant colonel. And he was an older guy. He was getting ready to upgrade. And I'm on my break. Well, we're in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And I'm just about falling asleep. And the flight attendant, oh, you got to go in the cockpit. You got to go in the cockpit. They're having trouble. Oh, shit. Fuck. So I get up and I go in the cockpit. Totally dark. Just the peanut emergency lights are on. Oh, Jesus, what are you guys doing? And they're sitting back with their seats. They're not even near the controls. Everything went out. They said, well, we don't know. It said, we're supposed to call maintenance, and they're supposed to tell us what to do. They don't want to touch on anything. So I looked at them. How are you going to call maintenance? You don't have anything. Wait, I called what? I said,
Open the window and shout really fucking loud.
Said, move your seat forward. You too, you dipshit. Move your seat forward. I want you to put your hand on the yoke, but don't touch anything. I want your hand on the yoke in case something happens, because I'm going to show you what to do. So I go up in the back. I'm up overhead. I'm pulling. I'll pull out the circuit breakers.
Circuit breaker pulling.
Yeah, as I'm pushing them back in, all the systems are coming back on. Well, he says to me, how did you know how to do that? I said, you're going to be captain in what, in a couple of months? So I said, now that we did that, if I didn't know how to do that, what were we going to do, crash? So I said, get a hold of maintenance and ask them what to do. So, he shut back and said, you know what you did? That's what maintenance said to do. Well, how would you know if you couldn't talk to them, you stupid bastard? So that's right. I was really sad. This guy was fairly sharp, but he didn't know the airplane that he was getting ready to be left seated.
That's a scary proposition.
Yeah. Right? Oh, yeah, when you watch, yeah. And the poor co-pilot, he was fairly new. I thought he was going to have a stroke in the cockpit. You know.
Wow.
So, I mean, you run into things like that.
There you go.
I've had so many little incidents. Like, you can't fly the hours I have and all the different type of equipment I've been in and not have experienced some of this.
Right.
Oh, you have had some terrifying, palm-sweating experiences.
And we've barely grazed the surface here. So this has been one of the fastest hour and a half of my life. This is
been an hour and a half.
Incredible.
How many? So, okay. I know you. So you were at United Airlines for how many years? Almost 20. And so, did you retire?
No.
Forced out?
I'll tell you what. Well, I almost made it to retirement when 9/11. I was based in New York during 9/11.
Yeah.
And when 9/11 happened, I lost
AWK
25 people that I knew, especially the flight attendants who were out of Boston. And that was the equipment that I was flying, the 67. When that happened, I knew that these assholes are going to file bankruptcy because I knew it was going to happen. So we had ESOP.
Yes.
We had an ESOP. a Four Seesaw.
Right.
So they were taking 25% of my pay plus part of my pension. They took like $800,000 out of me, and they gave me this stock. At that time, it was like $260 a share. After this happened, they froze our stock. So we couldn't cash in that stock. So what was going on, I said to myself, these bastards are going to file bankruptcy. So I said, so what happened was, I went on a trip from London. While I was flying back, I said, I'm gonna quit. So I told my wife, now don't get excited, because I was building houses at the time as a general. I said, I'm gonna leave United Airlines. Are you crazy? You're making $25,000 a month or whatever. Which I have to.
Yeah.
Now I had a younger son. He was just starting college at that time too. So I had they had the big house and all this shit. He said, no, I have to. He said, I got to get some of our money out of there, or else I won't be able to get it out. So I called up New York. I said, hi, how you doing? I said, do you have a fax in the office? Yeah, I said, I'm going to send you something.
Wait, is this why you're airborne?
No, I'm home now.
Okay. 'Cause I would not put it past you to do this airborne. I just wanted to make sure we had this straight.
Well, I told my co-pilot I was going to do this, and he said, and he's telling everybody. I told you. So I wrote, this is Captain Ian. I hereby resign. In other words, I quit. And that's all I said, right? So the phone called me up. The guy said to me, aren't you going to at least finish the month? I said, no, I quit today. As of today, I quit. Here's my resignation. Don't bother to call me again. Ironically, I never even turned in my badge or anything. I never went back to a United facility after that. Not once.
Oh, wow. My gosh. So, but because of that, you were able to liquidate that stock, right?
I got some of it, but I didn't. I lost a lot. I lost my pension was supposed to be like $100-something thousand. When they tried, they had that insurance thing, $1,500 a month.
Yep.
Yeah, medical, yeah. It was
brutal. The PBGCI. PBGC, yeah. So, all right. Well, we've gotten to the point where we need to land this plane, but I'd like to ask you one last thing before we do, and that is, how did we get the call sign Messman?
That's a very good question. I don't know where they got it, because the name of the squadron was Gray Knight. Okay, and where they came up with Messman, whether it was something to do with Chow, I don't know. I don't know how they got that.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a very good question.
Well, that's a fair answer. Not all call sign stories are involve debauchery, stupidity.
Maybe somebody
or self-inflicted.
He messed his pants. I don't really know.
Yeah, Messman. I don't know. I was. Did you guys ever have a dining out or a dining in that went bad?
Dining in.
Because maybe I always thought that's where you.
No. We never found out. And the whole time I was in the squad, I kept saying, what the hell is this name? And nobody knew. No one had.
It just was. Yeah, it just was. All right. Well, we need to, first of all, I think we need to say thank you for your service. Oh. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Oh, you're welcome.
That you went well before us, and we are humbled to carry on as naval aviators and aviators, and thank you very much for that.
I've enjoyed it.
A couple other thank yous we've got to get to. First and foremost is Dave Hamilton over at backbeatmedia.com. Handles advertising for us, Backbeat Media Online. And Dave's got a couple shows of his own. The Mac Geek Gab for technical, all things technical. The Gig Gab for musicians, and he's got a cool one coming up soon. A gent by the name of Brian Ray, who plays guitar for a gentleman. Some of you might have heard of him. His name's Paul McCartney. Not sure. So he's going to be on. And then the Gig Gab for entrepreneurs. So thank you, Dave, for all you do for us. You've helped make this show possible. We wouldn't do it if it wasn't for you. Yes. What else, Fig?
Well, we need to thank our workhorse producers in the background there, Sticks and Bago, for being here and throwing up all the media and this quick-witted pictures.
The fact that they could show those pictures there, that was pretty good.
I know.
Good at what they do. You think it and they put it up. It's amazing.
That was impressive. That impressed me when they did it.
Yeah.
Thank you, gents, for doing that, and Bago for running our Facebook site, which is in excess of. Well, I guess we're getting close to 1,500.
Yeah.
Numbers now, right?
Climbing up there. So share it out on Facebook. Facebook.com/so-there-I-was.us. And
for you to say.
yeah, well, first day with the new lips. What can I say? So, hey, and thank you to all of you people who show a complete lack of judgment and take money out of your wallet and give it to us.
That's a fact.
Thank you. We are humbled by your faith and your support in us and helping bring these stories to you every week.
We love you for your lack of judgment.
We do.
And thank you.
We're so proud of you. so thank you. And if you can't share your hard-earned money, if you would share the show with other people, we're growing, and we appreciate that. We're only growing because of the word of mouth. And the other thing we need from you is not 4, not 3, but
5.
5. Count them.
5 stars.
Yeah.
Hey, if you can't give us a 5-star rating, tell us why it isn't one, and we can be trained.
Right.
We're trainable.
And if you insist on giving somebody a 2-star rating, go find some other aviation podcast. Leave us alone. So let's see. We got merch. So there was the US/merch because it is the height of.
We're full in bikini season.
We're on,
everybody,
man.
And that right there, the picture I'm looking at right there, that Bago or Sticks put up is our So There I Was bikini that you can get at sothereiwas.us/merch, along with. Well, just about anything you can think of.
Cups and koozies and hats and shirts and T-shirts and clocks and beach towels and you name it. And it's all good stuff. So some pretty cool stuff out there. Some bar glasses, shot glasses, playing cards.
Logo. So There I Was logo.
Yeah.
Which is a cool logo.
Yeah, and we're working actually on some other stuff too. Looking in the near future, hopefully to get some flasks and keychains and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Be a garage shirt.
There. Yeah. Oh, that would be cool.
I know. We got to work on that.
And then...
oh, my goodness. That's the music of our 2 Air Force F-16 pilots in the Air Force Center.
The Dos. Gringos.
There's not a bad song on any one of their 4 albums.
Not a bad one.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us use your music.
Indeed. Oh, we almost forgot Badass. BDSAviationPhotography.com.
Brad Badass Silcott. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for your love and support and sharing the show. We're eternally grateful for you. Take care. Until next week, don't pull the engine shut off handle. Don't sit on the ejection seat.
For crying out loud, I think we should say don't give up.
Never give up.
Because Messman never did.
That's my life first.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. Better advice, never give up.
Thanks,
You're welcome. Thanks, guys. I enjoyed it.
Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the shit I was wearing on that day. Now an F-16 is cramped enough, but it's even worse with all that stuff supposed to save your life. But we knew there was no way. 'Cause when you're going down the North Atlantic, man, it's over.
Hold on. It's what?
He said it's over.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
No, it wasn't.
Let him go. He's on a roll, man.
That's right. We're out.